We often see a barrier in these photos. We can see there's a firm barrier between our territory and the divines. In these photos, literally, there are these human-made boundaries that cannot or should not be crossed. The bridge cuts a path between what we might call overgrowth, but it is a flourishing. It is nature taking up more space than what we're comfortable with. The small meandering stream weaves its way underneath, while flies and mosquitoes lay and hatch their eggs in the shallow water. And we cross the bridge, perhaps taking a moment or two to admire the beauty and then move away when the mosquitoes emerge. In the same way, we come to the gate. We see the path for human feet ends and we turn back, or we find a new path open to us. I took this photo on the right, the photo of the gate. I took it 2 years ago at the Middlesex National Historical Park. Within that wall is a small garden of native plants, of rhododendron and honeysuckle contorting their branches in a dance that we see only as stillness. I stopped at the gate, which sits along the eastern wall of the garden, chained shut, separating one life from another. And I wrote a poem. It's called At the Gate. Impassable barrier, guardian of the holiest, the natural world, breathtaking, conventionally unattractive. I pray at the closed door not to let me in, but for it to unleash what is inside. The untouchable tree spreads its branches over the gate, and I dare not reach and touch it. They say if you enter this gate, your fate is surrendered. Nothing that enters will exit the same. Some say many choose not to exit and instead stay on their own volition. Perhaps one day I will cross over, but I have requirements to fill before I am at peace beyond the gate. This divine moment washed over me as I was ready to receive it, ready to find meaning beneath the worn slate tile on the ground, separating me from the dirt, beyond the narrow grid-like aisles of the pristine garden. Nature was contained in this garden as a way to make meaning of the chaos and confusion of the life that exists outside of our power, that survives without our hand to tend it, but there is an order to it. An order that we now understand as the communication of plants underground between species and between kingdoms, of mycelium carrying messages between neighbors with nothing else in common than that they are nearby. I notice when I can the juxtaposition of a paved road and untouched forest, what we take ownership of and what we leave in its original state. Sometimes the difference is mere inches. In the city, it's hard to remember what untamed land looks like. I went to Laura Hake's apartment a couple weeks ago. She lives in a gated community at the top of a hill with a paved, winding road flanked on one side by a cliff and the other by a steep, tree-covered hill. On this particular day, she told me to dress appropriately so that we could go for a short hike. A short hike. I figured out pretty soon that this hike would mean climbing up a steep, pine needle-covered hill, very slippery, through virtually untouched forest, avoiding poison ivy and piles of deer shit in order to look for wild blueberries. We mostly found the fruit to be unripe or dried in the sun if the bushes hadn't already been picked clean by the deer. We found a couple of black raspberries and more poison ivy, moving upward and upward until we crested the top of the hill, where we found open to us a field of wildflowers. There it is. All this was just a few hundred feet beyond the asphalt and the wooden fences. All of this was present beyond my peripheral vision. This naturally is the case with all of us. We focus so much on the path that we don't see what's outside of our direct gaze or the path laid out before us. I can't speak for anyone else, but my particular moments of divine ecstasy are in equal measure unexpected, but ready to happen when I'm open to them happening. They're like a whirlwind, like I'm simultaneously at the gate and beyond the gate, like I am still while all else moves around me. The difference of what might this look like versus what is this like? A specific kind of divine ecstasy I've been feeling lately is gender euphoria. So for those here who don't know, I'm a transgender man. I began hormone therapy in February. In actually 2 days, I'll be 4 months taking testosterone. I also cannot speak for all the trans people, but my baseline for the way that I experience my life and have experienced my life to this day is sort of like something is off. There's something different between the way that I feel in myself and the way that others see me, and even the way that I see myself in the mirror. This disconnects me from my body, an experience called dysphoria. But every now and then I have days or moments where I'm able to see myself reflected in harmony with the person that I am. These milestone moments, like when I got my first haircut or the first time I shaved, or little moments when I notice my mustache looks pretty good today, when people use my correct name and pronouns. These are precious moments to me, when most of the time I want to ignore the divinity of my changing body because it confuses me and scares me, when I feel like a freak of nature that nobody will ever truly love, and the fear that not even I will love the person I become. Gender euphoria is a divine experience, a reminder that my queerness and my transness is holy and mystic. It is a confirmation of my place as beloved by the divine, that the spirit that runs through all creation is present in me too, and that this process is physical and spiritual. And it is also a preview to my future, when gender euphoric moments begin happening more and more frequently, until that is my new baseline, when the world and my spirit in it are aligned, when in contrast to my fear, my racing thoughts, my confusion, the hurt that I carry when I'm not seen as who I am, that finally there is rest and quietness in my soul. I believe that all of our divine experiences function like this, that the moments where we no longer care about what we should be doing, or the difference between creation and ourselves, when the distance between our bodies and the divine is closed, that this is the way it should be. To end his poem, A New Rule, the poet Rumi wrote, "A new rule, a new law has been born. Break all the wine glasses and draw near to the glass blower. All that contains us, like in the garden. All that contains us from the chaos and uncertainty of the divine is also what separates us from it. The strict gender binaries and performances we oppose on ourselves are what have been used to contain the unfamiliar, and they also separate us from the fluidity of the divine. The divisions of class and wealth, the gerrymandering, the gentrification, the city-suburb divides that determine who lives comfortably and who doesn't, separate us from the community of the divine. The elevation of one race over all others, the racism that us white folks have inherited and absorbed through no active fault of our own, but continue to perpetuate because it's all we've ever known. The elevation of humankind as masters over creation rather than one part of the worldwide ecosystem. This literal separation of our bodies from the order of nature. That we didn't start these fires, they continue as long as our institutions use our fear of the mystery of the divine to separate us from it. Beyond the gate, there is a mess. We didn't go too far into that field because we knew there'd be ticks. Beyond the gate is conventionally unattractive, unfamiliar, moderately unphotogenic, although I'm not a great photographer. It looks unintentional, wild, and dangerous. But the difference between what something looks like and the experience of that thing is the difference between our baseline and divine ecstasy. Divine ecstasy is the orgasmic experience that momentarily fulfills our yearning for the way that things should be, even if we don't know what that looks like yet. It brings us peace in the midst of caution, for some kind of change of order, comforts us, reminding us that we are where we are supposed to be, one with creation. These moments of divine ecstasy are previews of that rightness. They are encouragement that we should keep working towards reconciliation because it is real and it is possible, and we will be okay. There is freedom and joy in the breaking of walls. And these are moments of rest. They are an opportunity to let go, to stop fighting between guilt for what is and fear of what might be. An opportunity to let the divine move through and for us. These moments inspire and re-energize us for the hard work of barrier breaking. Things must change for humankind to be in harmony with itself and the rest of creation. That change can and will happen gradually, whether we like it or not. In moments when we are scared because we feel the change is happening too fast, or in moments when we are frustrated and impatient because we feel the change is happening too slowly. The divine is there to remind us we are not the only ones working towards reconciliation. There is an active peace in the divine. And as humans, we're not always able to connect to the divine. That's fine. That's inevitable. It's reasonable. But in moments where we can't connect, we can remember moments when we did. We can use our memories of our divine experiences to remind us what and why we believe, what and why we continue to strive, until there is no difference between us and the divine. Last night, the moon came along, drunk, dropping clothes in the street. Get up, I told my heart. Give the soul a glass of wine. The moment has come to join the nightingale in the garden, to taste the sugar of the soul parrot. I have fallen with my heart shattered, where else but on your path, and I broke your bowl, drunk, my idol so drunk. Don't let me be harmed. Take my hand. A new rule, a new law has been born. Break all the glasses and draw near to the glass blower.